United States is famously a two-party system. The Democrats occupy the left of the spectrum, and the Republicans occupy the right of the spectrum. The last time a president was elected under the banner of another party was in 1848 when good old Zachary Taylor was elected president under the Whig banner. No current US senator, representative, or governor serves under a banner other than Democrat or Republican, bar two US senators who are independents but caucus with Democrats. And even they weren't elected as third-party candidates, but merely as independents. But that doesn't mean the US only has two parties. There are hundreds of parties, and a small handful of them do actually manage to garner a decent bit of support and attention during elections. Especially during presidential elections, small parties like the Greens and Libertarians often garner attention and criticism that they're splitting the vote. In this video, I will look at the 15 most prominent minor parties in the United States. I've listed these parties in alphabetical order, so don't get upset if your favorite minor party is at the end of the list. And so, without further ado, let's get into it. The Alliance Party. The Alliance Party is a center-left party which was founded in 2018 with a merger of the American Moderates Party, the Modern Whig Party, and the American Party of South Carolina. Over the following years, 6 more parties merged into the party. It currently has ballot access in 4 states. Aside from the parties incorporated into the Alliance Party, it is also affiliated with the Alliance Party of South Carolina, the Independence Party of Minnesota, the Independent Party of Connecticut, and the Reform Party of Florida. The party advocates for electoral reform in the shape of ranked choice voting, introducing term limits and a recall process, as well as overturning the Citizens United ruling. The party also supports universal healthcare, universal basic income, and gun restrictions. The first elections they contested were in 2020, where they ran perennial candidate Rocky de la Fuente, as well as a couple state legislature candidates. In 2022, they stood candidates for a Minnesota governor and some other down-ballot races, including a Minnesota City Council seat that they won. In 2024, the party, however, seemed to be faltering. Their affiliate Alliance Party of South Carolina initially nominated Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as their presidential candidate before he dropped out of the race to endorse Donald Trump. The rest of the Alliance Party did not seem to run candidates as much as support calls for independent candidates. This looks like a party that's winding down after very little electoral success from a couple of cycles. The American Independent Party. The American Independent Party is a populist right-wing party that was founded in 1967 as ardently anti-communist and pro-law and order. In 1968, the party ran Alabama Governor George Wallace as their presidential candidate. Wallace was an aggressive segregationist and managed to appeal to white working-class voters in the Deep South. He secured almost 10 million votes. He won 5 states and took 45 electors. Although he didn't come close to winning, the fact that he managed to appear on ballots in all 50 states and win several states is a massive achievement for a minor party in the United States. However, that was also the height of this party. In 1972, their presidential candidate John G. Smith won only just over 1 million votes, appearing on ballots in 32 states, and he didn't win a single one of them. The same year, they also tried running a Senate candidate in Louisiana, but had very little success with that. Over the next 2 decades, the party continued fielding candidates of their own or supporting other minor candidates for the presidency. However, the party kept losing significance. By the 1990s, the party only had ballot access in California and affiliated itself with the Constitution Party, another populist minor party. However, this led to a massive split in 2008 that saw the party divided over the influence the Constitution Party had over the American Independent Party, among other things. Half of the party decided to stay in the Constitution Party, while the other half left and continued what is today a very small California-only party. At this point, the American Independent Party is a non-factor and a bit of a joke. In 2020, they ran perennial candidate Rocky de la Fuente as their presidential candidate, with Kanye West as his running mate. And in 2024, the party supported RFK Jr. The American Solidarity Party. The American Solidarity Party is a Christian democratic party with socially conservative and economically socialist policies. They're anti-abortion, but also in favor of universal healthcare. The party was founded in 2012 and formally affiliated in 2016. In that year, the party also ran its first candidates. Most prominently, they ran a presidential ticket that year with author Mike Maturin as their candidate. In the election cycle since, the party has grown both in membership and in votes. They have stood candidates for local government, the House of Representatives, the Senate, as well as 2 subsequent presidential contests. In 2020, they were on 8 state ballots for the presidential candidate, scoring just over 42,000 votes, and in 2024 they were on 7 ballots, earning 46,000 votes. They have also actually had a little electoral success on a local level, with 3 currently serving local officials and a couple other former officials. However, these are in very, very small offices. It does, however, seem that this is a party that is still growing. While it will probably never become a serious contender for major offices, it's achieving more than most minor parties in the US today. The Constitution Party. The Constitution Party is an ultra-conservative party that was founded in 1990 as the US Taxpayers Party. It was founded by Howard Phillips, who felt betrayed by George H.W.'s U-turn on his No New Taxes pledge.
Read my lips.
The first election the party stood in was the 1992 election, where they ran their founder after they failed to get Pat Buchanan or Ross Perot to run as president under their banner. They have run a candidate in every subsequent presidential election. They have never won a state in a presidential election. Their best performance came in 2016 when their candidate Darrell Castle won over 200,000 votes, which put him 5th place in terms of popular vote count. Since then, they have seen a steady decline in presidential elections. In 2024, a split between various state branches led to the party running different presidential candidates in different states. In most states, they ran anti-abortion activist Randall Terry, while in a couple other states, they ran prepper Joel Skousen. Combined, these tickets only secured around 54,000 votes. The party has also run candidates for Senate and House races since 2000. However, they've never won a seat. The closest they came was a genuinely impressive 2nd place finish in a district in North Carolina in the 2024 elections, where their House candidate scored over 30% of the vote. The Constitution Party also had a Republican defector representing the party in the Montana House of Representatives for a few years. Currently, the party also has a good handful of members elected on local levels of government across the country. This is a party that has perhaps seen its best days on a national level, as evidenced by its declining presidential election record. However, it does still continue to thrive by US minor party standards on a local level across the country. The Forward Party. The Forward Party is a radical centrist party that was founded in 2021 by former Democrat Andrew Yang, who ran in the 2020 presidential primary and the 2021 New York City mayoral primary. The party quickly gained support from across the political spectrum, with former Republican Massachusetts Lieutenant Governor Kerry Healey and former Republican Governor of New Jersey Christine Todd Whitman joining the effort. The Forward Party advocates for electoral reform in the shape of ranked choice voting and non-partisan redistricting commissions. They also advocate for Andrew Yang's raison d'etre, universal basic income. They have refused to take positions on issues like gun rights and abortion. The party has run very few candidates. However, they have still managed a small handful of defections from other parties. This includes the mayor of a small town in Florida who defected from the Libertarians, and a member of the Utah State Senate. Other politicians choose to be party affiliates, retaining their old party but also becoming a member of Forward. This was the case for 2 Democratic members of the Pennsylvania State Senate and 2 city officials in Philadelphia. The Forward Party is very much still in its infancy, but it manages to get considerable media coverage and has been rolling out ballot access across the country, probably in the hopes of running a big presidential ticket in 2028. The Green Party. The Green Party of the United States is an eco-socialist party that split from the Green Party USA, which in turn was founded in 1996. Both parties were founded by Howie Hawkins, who ran on the party's presidential ticket in 2020. The party is economically socialist, culturally liberal, and has a large focus on environmentalism. It is positioned comfortably to the left of the Democratic Party. It is one of the currently most significant minor parties in the US, behind only the Libertarian Party in terms of vote share. However, despite this, the party's biggest year was probably in 2000, when its presidential candidate, Ralph Nader, won almost 3 million votes, just shy of 3% of the popular vote. Nader is often blamed for Al Gore's loss to George W. Bush due to this, but from a Green Party perspective, this was a phenomenal result. Since then, the party has never really managed a similarly impressive presidential result, despite running every cycle. However, in 2016, their candidate Jill Stein did manage almost 1.5 million votes, just over 1%. The party has also run in many Senate, House, and governor races, though never winning any. However, they have won state legislature races in Maine, California, and Arkansas, and have a rather remarkable track record of winning small local races. In 2024, the party again ran Jill Stein for president, winning less than 900,000 votes. While this was enough for them to end in 3rd place, it is still far from some of their best performances. So is this a party in decline? Well, I would argue that the Green Party fluctuates. It did well in 2016 because both candidates were unpopular, and if that happens again, they will probably resurface. And their track record on local elections still holds. Enough so that they are easily still one of the most significant minor parties in the US. The Independent Party of Oregon. The Independent Party of Oregon is a centrist independent party in the state of, you guessed it, Oregon. It was founded in 2007 as a response to a law in Oregon that would make it more difficult for independents to run. The party's perhaps biggest policy platform is around electoral reform. It argues for limits to campaign finance contributions, it advocates for ranked choice voting, and it calls for open primaries rather than closed partisan ones. It is the third largest party in the state and has achieved a considerable degree of statewide representation. In the early 2020s, it had representation in the Oregon State Senate for about 2 years, and the party has had success with cross-nominating candidates. This is a process where they essentially endorse candidates from one of the other major parties. The hope then being that this endorsement gives them some degree of influence over the elected official. They've cross-endorsed Democrat Senator Jeff Merkley and former Democrat Governor John Kitzhaber. However, not won any major races in their own right, though they have won a slew of local offices including mayoralties and local councils. They've also successfully campaigned for fusion voting, where candidates can appear on ballots for multiple parties. This is a party that has achieved some degree of notoriety in its home state, but it is clear even then minor parties struggle, and this one is no different. It has also been particularly quiet the last few years, so perhaps this is another one of those parties that is heading towards life support. The Liberal Party USA. The Liberal Party USA is a classical liberal party that was founded in 2022 as a splinter party off of the Libertarian Party. It was initially an association of the Libertarian branches in New Mexico and Massachusetts, and a group of Virginians that were upset about national interference with their branches and the move of the Libertarian Party towards the, quote, alt-right. The Liberal Party advocates for proportional representation, a reduced state, lenient immigration laws, environmental protection, the right to bear arms, and support for the LGBT+ community. They also advocate for a non-interventionist approach to foreign policy. In 2024, the party ran its first presidential ticket that only had ballot access in New Mexico. Here they ran Laura Ebke, who only won 859 votes in total. This was by all standards a very poor showing, especially when considering that they also had write-in status in 9 states. The party is clearly still in its infancy. It is still in the process of creating state parties and affiliates. Over the past couple of years, it has expanded on this quite significantly. But during this time, they have barely run in elections and really struggled to gain much momentum. I am personally a bit pessimistic about this party, but it will be interesting to see where this party goes once it's achieved infrastructure across the country. Will it start positioning itself more starkly in contrast to the Libertarians? And is that even something minor party voters are interested in? The Libertarian Party. The Libertarian Party is a surprise Libertarian Party that was founded in 1971 by David Nolan as a reaction to the Nixon administration. It advocates for liberal civil freedoms and a small state with a market economy. It is the largest minor party in the US in terms of voter registration. The party ran a presidential ticket as early as 1972, where, although they won less than 4,000 votes, they actually ended up getting an elector who had been pledged to Nixon to vote for them. In 1978, they won a state house seat in Alaska, and by 1980, the party was on the ballot in all 50 states. Throughout the 1980s, they continued having minor successes, and they even ran Ron Paul as their presidential candidate in 1988, before he later returned to the Republicans. Throughout the 1990s and 2000s, the party did struggle a bit more and did not make many gains. However, then, following a combination of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, as well as the financial crisis of 2008, they began seeing a bit of a resurgence. The 2012 presidential ticket featuring former Republican governor of New Mexico, Gary Johnson, came in third with 1% of the vote, and the following cycle, he would again come in third with a whopping 4.5 million votes. In 2020 and 2024, they saw decreases again, with their 2024 candidate Chase Oliver winning less votes than the Green Party candidate and RFK Jr., who had already dropped out of the race. The Libertarian Party continues to be a large factor in the minor party ecosystem of the US. But at present, it seems most libertarians are with the Republicans, while moderates are leaving for the Democrats. Could it see another surge like it did in the 2010s? Perhaps, and time will tell. The Natural Law Party. The Natural Law Party is a transnational party that advocates for the Transcendental Meditation movement, which is also currently active in India. Its US branch was founded in 1992 in Iowa. If you don't know what the Transcendental Meditation movement is, let me, quite literally, enlighten you. It is a movement that was started in India in the 1950s by Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, and which advocates for and practices an elaborate system of meditation. The movement goes beyond just meditation though. It also operates a minor media empire and a large system of schools and townships. An element of the practice is that meditation not only improves the health and well-being of the meditator, but that of the surroundings too. So a plan for the party would be to hire 7,000 advanced meditators to set up around the country and fix practically every issue through meditation. I promise this isn't a satirical party. The party ran a presidential candidate in 1992, again in 96, and in 2000 they ran John Hagelin, who is the party leader and founder. However, poor results sent the party into a bit of a panic in the early 2000s. They tried to merge with the centrist Reform Party, but this fell through. And throughout the early 2000s, most of their branches were absorbed by other organizations or parties. By 2008, the party was only active in Michigan. It offered a series of presidential candidates their Michigan ballot access, including in 2024, where they offered RFK Jr. access on their ballot before he dropped out. Today, this party is very much a non-entity. And despite the ballot access they have in Michigan, they don't really hold much influence. The Party for Socialism and Liberation. The Party for Socialism and Liberation is a Marxist-Leninist communist party that was founded in 2004 when the San Francisco branch of the Workers' World Party split off. The founders of the Party for Socialism and Liberation argued that the Workers' World Party was no longer an effective way to build socialism. The newer party is more friendly towards the liberal world, while the old party was supportive of communist regimes such as those in North Korea and in Belarus. This party's biggest mission is to overthrow capitalism and replace it with socialism. Very standard fare for a communist party. It wants to massively cut defense spending by 90%. It also wants to nationalize the 100 largest corporations in the US, and it wants to provide reparations to African Americans. The party first ran a presidential ticket in 2008 and has been a mainstay since. In 3 of the 5 elections it has stood, it ran Gloria La Riva, one of its founders. In 2024, it ran another one of its founders, Claudia de la Cruz. She received over 170,000 votes, ending in 6th place, and that was the best result to date. The party has also run for a handful of seats in the House, mostly in California, but the highest result it has scored is about 2.5% in a race in 2010. It's also run for a bunch of local and state elections, never winning a seat, but doing remarkably well in a couple of races. This is a party that has been slowly but steadily gaining prominence. Although at 0.11% at the presidential election is still far from the most significant minor parties, with the Greens and Libertarians, this is still a significant step. The Peace and Freedom Party. The Peace and Freedom Party is a very socially liberal socialist party that was founded in 1967 in opposition to the Vietnam War and in support of the civil rights movement. The party has been very consistent since its founding in the 60s, but primarily in California, the only state where the party still has ballot access. It's run almost 200 candidates for congressional races in the state, but never winning. Its best result was in 1994 in a House seat where the party received almost 19% of the vote. The party has supported a presidential candidate most cycles since it was founded. However, during most cycles, they supported a candidate from another party or an independent and gave them their Californian ballot access. In the last 3 cycles, this was the candidate for the Party for Socialism and Liberation. Previous candidates were primarily independents, such as Roseanne Barr in 2012 and Ralph Nader in 2008. In the period between 2000 and 2003, the party lost its ballot access in California, but it managed to regain it and became the first party in California's history to do so. This is a party that, while still active, it has not made much of an impact in quite a while. The candidates they support do well not because of this party, but because of other parties that they're backed by. The Vermont Progressive Party. The Vermont Progressive Party is a democratic socialist party that unsurprisingly only operates in the state of Vermont. It was founded in 1980 to support one Bernie Sanders in his 1981 election for mayor in Burlington, Vermont. It was initially founded under the name of the Independent Coalition, then becoming the Progressive Coalition during Sanders' tenure, and formally becoming the Vermont Progressive Party in 1999. Throughout this period, Bernie Sanders has been a party affiliate, but not formally a member. The party advocates for universal healthcare, ending the war on drugs, raising the minimum wage, and taking on a more non-interventionist foreign policy approach. While most of the party's success has been based in Burlington, the party has also had a list of minor successes in other parts of the state. It currently has 4 members of the Vermont House and 1 member of the Vermont Senate. Up until recently, it also held the Vermont Lieutenant Governor's seat under David Zuckerman. It has also supported a few select presidential candidates, Walter Mondale in 1984 and Ralph Nader in 2000, and it supports Bernie Sanders in Senate races and recently also took to supporting Peter Welch in the 2022 Senate race. In Vermont, this is the third largest party, and considering the fact that it has a small degree of genuine influence, it is likely going to stay around for quite a while. It is very much the Progressive Party of Vermont that has made the state the sort of strange party political system that can see an independent socialist candidate like Bernie Sanders serve in the Senate. The Working Class Party. The Working Class Party is a Trotskyist socialist party founded in Detroit, Michigan. It was founded in 2014 by a monthly magazine called The Spark. The party advocates for increasing the minimum wage and keeping it tied to inflation, as well as reducing the working week, and very much favors unionism. This party is very much a product of where it's based, Detroit, Michigan, a city that has seen a steady decline in living standards over the years due to industry moving out. Considering its relative youth, the party has managed to stand an impressive amount of candidates. However, it has only won one race way back in 2014 for a community college board, which it ran unopposed. Aside from Michigan, the party has also earned ballot access in California, Maryland, and Illinois, although the vast majority of its action has been in Michigan. In 2024, the party ran 9 candidates for the House of Representatives, with 1 in California advancing to the second stage election. Currently, the party does not have any elected representatives anywhere in the country. And considering the already saturated field of far-left socialist parties in the US, this party will probably have an upwards battle to fight to stay afloat. The Working Families Party. The Working Families Party is a democratic socialist party that was founded in 1998 in coordination between labor unions and a couple other minor parties. Dan Cantor, a major organizer for the Jesse Jackson presidential campaign of 1988, was foundational in putting the party together. The party advocates for higher minimum wages, more powers to unions, and expanding environmental policies. The party has ballot access in 5 states, but has focused most of its efforts on the state of New York. While the party has run a fair amount of its own candidates over the years, they have also had a lot of success actually with endorsing candidates, primarily Democrats, in exchange for a move to the left. They've also had a fair few election victories in their own right. One of the most prominent was getting Letitia James elected to the New York City Council over discontent with the Democratic candidate. You're right, that Letitia James. They've also worked with the likes of Connecticut Governor Dan Malloy, Bill de Blasio, and New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. In 2023, the party also had its first success on the Philadelphia City Council, with 2 councillors who work with Democrats but serve as Working Families Party's representatives. This party is one with a decent degree of influence. It's by no means similar to the Libertarian or Green Party in size or recognition, but it's a party that knows how to wield a certain degree of influence and does appear to have an active grassroots organization. And that's it. The 15 most significant minor parties of the United States. Did I miss any? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like and comment as well as subscribe to my channel. It really does help. Thank you again for watching, and goodbye.